Hi everyone, welcome back. This is lesson 3, breeding. So let's go ahead and jump right into the lesson. Is she in heat? This was probably one of the more difficult parts for me because even though I had assumed when my dog came into heat, I had no idea what steps to take or what I needed to do. So here's the breakdown, the step by step, so that you know the things that I had to learn the hard way. So first off is, how can you tell she's in heat? Now first, her vulva will swell, a swollen vulva. Now you're probably going, oh no, they're getting into all of these all these terms and weird talk, and sometimes kind of uncomfortable, but we're just going to give you the terminology, try to talk about it so that you understand everything you need to know. The vulva is actually the external genitals of the female. This is something you will notice pretty easily because it'll swell to 2 or 3 times the size that it normally is. Where you haven't noticed it before, you'll now notice. So this isn't something you'll miss. And also, the bleeding. So the vulva will swell, but then also she'll be bleeding. Now, if you want to see some images of the swollen vulva to get an idea, go ahead and go to Google and go under images. So when you do your search, go under images and don't type in vulva. Okay, I'm just telling you from some experience I've had. Be sure to type in dogs swollen vulva or dog vulva, and then make sure your search engine is set to strict. So up in the top corner, just make sure you have it set to strict. Then you won't get any unpleasant images. Yeah, so just be careful with that. But there are lots and lots of pictures there give you an idea of what to look for and what you're looking at. And then licking the area. This is another way that you can tell she's in heat. Is not only is she swollen, she's bleeding, but she'll also be licking the area. And other dogs, if she's around other dogs, they'll also be licking the area. So, and they'll constantly want to sniff her. And you'll notice that, well, okay, she's coming into heat. So, also, the last one, there's other dogs licking the area. So that's something that you can watch for. That gives you kind of a timeline to start to say, hey, this is the first day. And go ahead. What I did is we write it down on the calendar. So write it down on the calendar. Okay, she started bleeding this day. Because down the road now, you'll know when to breed her, because we're going to give you the timelines and all of that stuff. So that next bullet point, when do you breed her? The second heat. This is important because when a dog first comes into heat, if this is a new dog, maybe you had this dog, your female as a puppy, and now she's coming into heat, you're not going to want to breed her on the first heat. If she's an older dog and you just got her, if she's a few years old, then you're okay. But you want to wait till the second heat because a dog isn't fully matured or developed, and especially in larger breeds, this happens. That there's a lot of growing that takes place. So while they're still pretty young and in a juvenile stage, they'll come into their first heat, and that's not you don't want to breed them on the first heat because their body isn't quite ready for it yet. So wait till the second heat and later. So you want to make sure it's at least her second heat or later. I'm going to show you a timeline in the next slide that kind of gives you an idea of when she should be ready and when she'll stand for a male to breed with her. When to introduce the male. If you have the male at your home, or are friends with the person with the male, um, I'm going to show you that in the timeline too, because the male can be around her. What you don't want is you don't want a male dog around her that you are not planning on breeding to. So you want to make sure that when she's in heat, she's separate from all other males that are, obviously capable of impregnating her. And then separation is the best because you want to keep them separate. Even if she lives with that male, sometimes it's best to keep them separate so you can make sure that a tie is taking place. You don't want to have a male that is not interested in her or something like that and not know, and just assume that they are breeding. You're going to want to make sure that you can visually say, yes, I know they tied. And if it's her first tie, there's things you're going to want to watch for, and we're going to go over that also with an inexperienced male or an inexperienced female and what to do. I'm going to show you a video too that hopefully will benefit you. So let's go ahead and move on. This is our breeding timeline. So this kind of gives you an idea. When she starts, that first box is swelling and bleeding. So we know that she has gone into heat. We've marked the day. Day 1, she started to, swell. She's bleeding. And then you're going to want to also make sure that if she is bleeding, that she's not in the house, on your couches, things like that. They have diapers for dogs that you can put on that are also, would also be good. These are all things that will, stop you from being unpleasantly surprised or have stains on your couch or on the carpet, or, if you have nicer things, or if you want to keep the dog outside or in a cage for that period of time. If you really like having the dog around and in the house, then they have those diapers you can put on them that will catch that. Not necessarily made for them going to the bathroom. You want to let them out to do that, but they are made to, absorb that bleeding stage. And then, so the bleeding stops. This will happen right before, when she is ready to start being bred, when she'll stand still for a male. That bleeding will stop. And then on day 9 through 14, and you can mark this on your calendar, once you've discovered, hey, this is day 1, or you're not quite sure, if you might miss it by a few days, you're still going to be okay. Okay, but so you just want to mark that. So day 9 through 14 is going to be the optimal time to breed her. And you want to introduce her to the male on day 9. And the reason you want to introduce her to the male is that she may not be ready on day 9, or she might be perfectly ready on day 9. So you want to make sure that you're fertilizing all the eggs that her body has, and her body will release those eggs during day 9 through 14. Her body releases those eggs. And so and then when you breed the female, the sperm will live inside her for 24 to 48 hours. So if you get that female bred, then that's good for a couple of days. So, and we'll go over that. If you're taking the female to the house of a breeder and you're going to leave her, then you don't have a lot to worry about. But if you're going to take her to the house and get her bred, some breeders say you bring her day, they'll breed her right there, and then you take her home, and then you'll bring her back, and you bring her back maybe every other day. And that's the reason. So, and then she will be capable of being bred all the way to day 20, even day 21. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping her away from any male dogs, because if she is impregnated or mounted by multiple dogs, and this means she ties with them. So if she ties with multiple dogs, it is possible for her to have multiple mixed puppies, or some purebred puppies and some mixed puppies. So it's possible to have 2 or 3 fathers for those puppies. So what you're going to want to make sure of is that you're only breeding, and that you're watching her, that she's contained, so that she's kept away from other males. So you can claim that all those puppies are purebred. Okay, on the 60 to 63 days, I just wanted to go over that from the first day you mark that swelling and bleeding. This isn't from that day. The 60 to 63 days is from the first day that they tie. So the first day that the male actually breeds with her, you're going to want to mark that day down. And 60 to 63 days after that is when she will have those puppies. So that's when you're going to want to be watching her real close. taking care of her, making sure she has everything she needs during that time to have the puppies. And we go over that in a following lesson. So that's kind of your breeding timeline. There are dates you want to make sure you mark down on the calendar. Don't be afraid to mark, days down on the calendar, and then to, write a few days before so you can prepare yourself for specific timelines and dates. Okay. Now we're going to go to finding the champion. What male to use? So now she's come into heat. What you're going to want to do is, from the first time that you notice she's coming into heat, you're going to want to search for a male. And even if once you kind of know when she comes into heat every year, you're going to want to have a male lined up, because you don't want to surprise a breeder or find out that they're booked and you can't get the male to breed with. So finding the champion. First of all, you do a Google search. On Google, you can search and find, you can search champion breeds and different things like that. You get into Google and make sure you're typing in your local area. Type in your local area so you can find one that's close to you. But in most cities, you'll be able to find a champion dog that to breed to your female. Also, a good place to look, even better than Google, I think, is your online classifieds. You can find people who have the champions and they're looking for, they've got it posted. They make money breeding their dog, and so they want to breed as many females as possible. So they're advertising in the online classified section or in the newspapers classified section. So don't be afraid to look there, and you'll probably find a male section for dogs to breed, breeding stock for dogs. And then to call people selling champion puppies, because if they're selling champion puppies, then chances are they have a champion male or champion females, or they know where all the champions are. So you can call them, and sometimes they have the champion male and they love to breed. They're in it to make the extra money just like anyone is. So it is a business, so it's easy to find these people. And then the AKC has a section in their website online that also has, where you can find champion males and breeders in your area, and they can point you in the right direction. So don't be afraid to try those avenues to find a champion male. Maybe you have a female that has champion lineage, and so you don't necessarily need a champion male, but it is also wonderful to be able to claim that you have champion on both sides. That makes for a good puppy. So moving on, stud fees. How much are you gonna pay once you find that champion? Here's a couple of ways. The first is normally it's the cost of a puppy. Now this hasn't been true lately, because I have been breeding lately, and I've found male fees for a few $100s for a breed fee. So not necessarily is it a cost of a puppy anymore. Normally for a champion, you might find that that's more or less true, but normally it's the going price of a puppy. Maybe what they're selling them for through the classifieds, but not necessarily what you're going to be selling your puppies for. We're going to look at getting the best price and having a clientele of people who are waiting to get their hands on your puppies. So you'll be able to sell your puppies for more. So if a breeder ever asks, well, how much do you sell puppies for? You don't want to normally disclose that, because that will be different from what they normally receive on fees. So don't be afraid to negotiate the stud fees either. And then trading for the pick of the litter, sometimes, your stud fees might be a few $100s, but then also there is, if you don't have any money and you can't do that, a lot of breeders, they say, okay, I'll breed your dog, it's for free, but when you have the puppies, I get the pick of the litter, so I get to pick which puppy I want from your litter. And sometimes, that's a good way to go if that's the only way you're going to be able to get your dog bred. Sometimes, pick of the litter isn't a bad way to go, because maybe you have, 4 or 5 puppies, or maybe you have more. But if you only ended up with 1 puppy or 2 puppies, then maybe that wouldn't work out so well for you. But that's a way to get your stud fees for free is trading for the pick of the litter. And then when you're breeding your dog, do you drop her off or do you just visit? This is different in every scenario. Some breeders will say you just bring the dog by, and then, a week to 10 days later, you come and pick the dog up. And they do all the breeding and they take care of everything, they know their business. So that's a possibility if you're comfortable with the breeder. Sometimes you will just come for a visit. So you'll bring your dog, and the breeding will take place right there. You'll help however you'll be there, and then when the breeding is over, then you'll take the dog home with you. So, or maybe you just leave the dog for a few hours. So this kind of depends on the breeder that you take them to. When you're taking your dog to a breeder, or maybe it's just a friend, maybe you have a friend that has the dog, or maybe you have the dogs, you're going to want to make sure that they haven't just eaten a lot of food, not a full tummy. Make sure that they, have a little water and whatever, but don't give them a big meal right before they go. And then some of the things to take, if you're going to drop your dog off, maybe take something that they're used to, their blanket or something like that, something where they can get comfortable and still feel comfortable there. A blanket they normally sleep on, something that smells like home. Sometimes we'll have people bring a dog over and they'll bring a teddy bear with their dog, or their doggy bed. But then also take, if you're going to drop your dog off, take a bag of their type of food, so you don't have to worry about the dog not feeling good or eating a different brand of food. Take a bag of their food there, so they have enough food for the time that they'll be there. So that's also something else to remember, and just gives you some ideas. Your role in the breeding procedure, you might need to be, and might need to assist. Now, in assisting your dogs, the female, sometimes you'll get a short female and you'll have to lift her hind end up so that the male can reach. Some of the other things are that, once the female ties, she'll get real anxious. If it's her first time, she'll get real anxious. And I'll show you this in this video coming up, but she'll get anxious and she'll, now she wants to be away. So at first she'll stand till they're done breeding, and when that tie takes place and the dogs cannot separate, then she'll get real frustrated and she'll want to turn around and nip at him. She'll want to lay down. She'll get tired of him being on her, and you don't want this to happen. You want to show them, hey, this is, you don't want any harm or anything between either of the dogs. You don't want to have either of the dogs get hurt. And so in assisting, I'll show you in the video how you can hold them, how you can take care of them, how you calm them down. It helps the swelling process go down for the male, and also helps the female, helps them relax. The new males and experienced males. Sometimes you'll have a new male, and what you'll want to make sure of with the new male is that the female isn't intimidating him. They'll play around before the female's ready to stand. If she's not ready to stand, a new male will attempt to mount her, and if she turns around and nips at him or growls at him, it might ruin his confidence, and he may not want to mate with her anymore. So with a new male, you'll want to make sure that you're holding the female, you're letting them get used to each other. Don't let her get overly aggressive. And if she isn't ready, and you can tell she's growling or isn't comfortable with the male, then separate them for another day. Maybe she's not quite ready yet. So, and then with experienced males, you're going to want to watch her more, because with an experienced male, even though she might be kind of feisty or might turn around and nip at him because she's unexperienced, an experienced male, he won't be afraid to attempt anyway. And so you're going to want to make sure to watch her, that she's comfortable. The male will be fine because he's experienced and done this a lot. So those are kind of some things to watch. These are some things you need to know. When the female and male tie, so the male will mount her. Once he inserts his penis, then he swells, and she is really tight on him. So she has these sphincter muscles in her vagina that will contract. And while he's inside of her, he swells and they can't get apart. And you've probably seen this where dogs are tied and they can't separate. So this is when they tie. This is as nature intended. It ensures that the breeding process, that it takes place. So this is natural. They tie, they get stuck together. This lasts for 20 minutes. So up to 20 minutes, you'll want to make sure that that they're somewhere safe. They don't need to. They aren't going to be somewhere where harm might befall them as they're tied. So make sure they're in a safe place when they tie, and then don't ever attempt to separate them. You help them be calm, but never attempt to pull them apart. It'll ruin the male, can damage the female. So you'll never attempt to separate them. Just wait that time, wait it out. They'll relax, and then they'll separate on their own. I thought this was funny that he said, she said, because you can kind of see it from his side of the story, and then from her side of the story. Once he's done, once they've made it and he's done, then he'll stand and he'll wait. He's kind of at the disadvantage. She has him trapped. So her side of the story is, get off of me and I don't want to be here, and she'll run and she'll try to get away from him. So what you want to do on his side of the story is make sure that when they're done mating, that he can put his paws down on the side of her and stand next to her and just relax. That gets the weight off of her. While you're doing this is kind of training in a sense. He'll know what to do every time. So either his right leg or his left leg comes over her back and then on the ground, so he's standing, and then she's standing. And that gets his weight off of her. And then for her to calm her and pet her and let her relax, but to hold her at about the shoulders by the neck will keep her from being able to bite at the male or get frustrated or lay down. And you just hold her, and even though she might be frustrated and trying to get away, make sure you put on a pair of gloves so you don't get bit. But if you hold her just for a few seconds, maybe 10, 20, 30 seconds, you're going to tell that after that time that she calms down and she relaxes. And that's what you want her to do. And then she'll stand there and you can pet her, pet him, use their names, let them know that it's okay. And this will help them to calm down, help it be a more pleasant experience. And then the next time, if this is the female's first time breeding, the next time she'll know better, and she'll relax quicker and quicker. And then, by the time she's had a couple litters of puppies, she'll be a really experienced female. She'll know to stand there, to relax, to not get over anxious and run. That just hurts her more. So this is kind of teaching them the proper etiquette of breeding. So let's move on here. This is the video. Let's show you this video. I'm just going to kind of talk to you about what you're seeing here. This is a breeder, and what she does, and this is the first part. Notice how she keeps the male and female separate. We talked about that. So she keeps the male and female separate. You see her letting out the female now. And she just allows them to run around the yard. She lets the dogs play, sniff each other freely. But she never lets them out of sight for more than a few seconds. And the reason that is if they do see if they tie, then she can be close enough that when the tie completes, she can help the female. This particular female this is her fourth time being tied. So, and every time she ties, she gets kind of, anxious and wants to get away and nips, and you'll see that in this video. So the male's just kind of getting used to her. She's standing. You can tell she's ready. She stands. She puts her tail up in the air so that he can access her pretty easy. She then moves So at this part, she moves them to an enclosed space where she can help assist if needed. So now they've kind of run around, so they got a feel for each other. She knows that they're ready. She puts them in a kind of enclosed area and just lets them. See, she's got a chair. She knows she's going to be there a while. So a chair, a small chair, is a good thing to have. You see here, he ties. So during this stage now, his penis enters and swells. So this is it, the tie takes place. So he swells. Now at this point, when he's done ejaculating, this point they're stuck together. And this is where you never want to separate them, you know. And you see how the female gets. This is her first time. She's never had a litter. And see how she's kind of nipping at the male. She's like, "Let me go. Get me away. I'm done. I'm done with you." So you see how the breeder, she just holds her. You know, even though she's nipping, she's just curious. You know, the female is. And so the breeder just kind of holds her. You don't have to hold her rough or hard. She just holds her, you know, keeps her from damaging or hurting her or running off with the male. You know, sometimes dogs will tie and you'll see them face different directions and different things. So they just kind of relax. See how she's starting to relax? Now this happens for a while. They sit for a while. You'll notice that the breeder then helps the female relax, and this is how she does it. Now this is all the same video. It's just, this is edited because this happens over, you know, this is half an hour. And I didn't want you to watch a half an hour video of two dogs standing together. So she pets the female, lets him relax. You know, you see the male. This male's experienced. So he knows, he just waits. She gets crazy and, you know, starts flailing around. He's okay. He's just relaxed and calm. He knows there's nothing he can do here. So you can see the breeder. She just sits down and relaxes. So this is good. A good video. I like this video. Now you'll see, oh, there's the separation takes place. He pulls out. You can see he's still swollen. You know, he's all purple. So he's still swollen. And that swelling goes down just in a few minutes. You know, it doesn't take long at all. So there you have it. That was the video, and it kind of gives you an idea what to watch for, what to look for. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this information. We're going to have, you know, move on to the next lesson coming up, and we appreciate your time. If you have any questions or any problems when you're doing this, you know, don't be afraid to send us an email or, you know, give us a call. We'd love to help. So I hope you enjoyed this video, got a lot of information from it, and we'll see you in the next one.